Welcome everyone. This is our weekly live Q&A. If you have any questions you'd like answered, throw them in the comments. I will get to them as they come up. If you're watching on the replay, still feel free to post questions. I will answer and cover those in upcoming future live sessions. Just one note I will add. Facebook is no longer saving live videos indefinitely, so we are putting more of these videos on our YouTube channel. So if you want to catch up, reference, or if that's where you think you're going to usually be seeing them, give us a follow. Lifestyle Performance Training on YouTube, and you can catch us there and ask questions there as well. So this week's focus, we're talking a lot about what you're not seeing when it comes to progress, and more importantly, the unrecognized progress, sometimes the unacknowledged progress. This is very important, especially in the first 4-8 weeks, typically for most people, especially if in a couple situations. If you have a lot of weight to lose and it's been a very long time since you've been very active, or you've done a whole lot of weight loss, weight gain, very back and forth, up and down yo-yoing with very drastic measures. So extreme limited restricted diet, extreme levels of activity, and high intensity, any sort of things that's really just shocking your system back and forth, and then you quit, and we rapidly regain the things back. Both of these are factors because we're resetting a lot of systems in the background when we're trying to initiate more moderate, regular habits. What I mean by that is, we're doing strength training 2 or 3 times a week and some sort of other moderate daily movement. We're not going all out hardcore every single day of the week with our workouts. We're not doing extreme restriction diets where we're eating 1,000 calories or less, or we're completely eliminating a macronutrient group for the sake of weight loss. We're trying to keep more balanced, moderate portion control. Our deficit's maybe 250 calories nutritionally at the most, and we're just trying to get into a point where we do have a deficit. We have a need for the body to start going into fat stores, but we're not beating it into submission to make it lose weight, because we're trying to do things that are going to be sustainable long term. Why is this a big factor? A couple reasons. One, when we're trying to do moderate changes, first and foremost, the results aren't going to be as quick as a lot of other programs you see. So you have to honor yourself in the progress that you're making, both in the habits, just as much as what the outcome has been so far. Because a lot of times it's hard to see the outcome because we're in that margin. Our progress is in the margin of variance when it comes to our change on the scale. So, our weight can vary as much as 5, even 10 pounds, depending on the person from day to day, with water fluctuations, what we've eaten, and how much is in our digestion tract. So if we're only losing 1 to 2 pounds per week, it's going to be a few weeks before we can truly say, yes, we're seeing change on the scale definitively, simply because our loss is within that 5-pound window of variance, just acceptable limits. So that can be a factor for it. We're making changes that are focused on not just scale changes, but are more factors of health changes. So what we're trying to do is we're looking for long, sustainable results, sustainable habits, because the activity and exercise we're doing is going to help our health and well-being. the better nutrition we're doing is also going to help our health and well-being. And this kind of comes into the factor of why does it sometimes take longer to start seeing changes. So if we have had a very large amount of weight on us for a very long period of time, or we've done a lot of yo-yo dieting with crash restrictions and big rebounds of intake, there's going to be factors where our metabolism, a lot of processes aren't working in our favor yet. One of the challenges for people who suffer with extra weight is insulin resistance. And exercise is a great benefit in helping reset that resistance and that sensitivity. If you have heard it, insulin resistance is primarily associated with type 2 diabetes. However, they are finding that it is a factor that contributes to a lot of other health issues and metabolic problems. So reducing that insulin resistance is going to help you across the board. But it takes time to really reset a lot of those factors. So you have to be consistent with the changes that you make. But if you're not keeping with the changes because you're getting demotivated because the scale's not changing, that's when we lose that traction. That's when we lose that internal progress to really see changes ultimately in the body as well as internally in your health. If you're familiar with people with your blood check for the A1C that the doctor checks for your insulin health and diabetes risk, that's about a 6 to 12 month picture of what your metabolism has been doing in regards to managing blood sugar through insulin sensitivity. So if you're more insulin resistant, that number is going to be higher. It takes consistent work both on what our intake is, so reducing how much concentrated refined sugar we're having and how much activity we're doing to start helping both metabolic processes make your body less resistant to insulin so it can respond appropriately. That will help your weight, it will help with a lot of your other metabolic processes, and because of that, your health down the line. This is the reason why, regardless of what you're doing, even if weight loss isn't a goal, you should be doing some form of exercise, because even the difference between 0 days of exercise and 2 days of exercise has been shown to have anywhere between a 15 to 30% reduction in all-cause mortality in people who they measured. So what that means is that any way that could cause a health risk that results in death, exercising twice a week versus 0 times a week had a drastic 15 to 30% reduction outcome for people that they were monitoring with those habits. This is why you have to honor yourself for making these changes. If you're going from 0 to 1 day a week of working out, that's an improvement. Adding another day of working out, that's an improvement. Making changes in nutrition, they might, even if they look small, they can still have big impacts. Adding a serving of vegetables to reduce how much of the fillers that you're having instead, so you don't have as many calories per meal and you have more fiber per meal. That's a big change. And that change right there in one meal per day can swing 100 to 300 calories in your intake, which will over time bring about weight loss. It's just you have to be consistent and you have to be persistent so it can happen long enough to see change on the scale. Because again, if your body can vary 5 pounds day to day, you're only losing 1, maybe 2 pounds per week. We're talking, we've got to see at least 4 or 5 weeks to get to a point where we're outstripping what that scale variance can be day to day. So you have to be consistent through it. You can't go 1 week really good, not see what you wanted on the scale, get frustrated, rebound for a week, try it again, go back and forth. You're just never going to break through that variance and actually see that success. So you have to honor the changes that you're making and understand that the processes will bring about the outcome of the goal. Because if you don't do the processes, it's very hard to get to that ultimate goal and keep yourself there at that goal. It's the difference between teams that work hard to win a championship versus teams that kind of fall into it just by accident. It's harder to repeat that success, whereas teams that work hard, they master their plays, they keep their key players in their key positions, they can repeat wins over and over and over again. The same thing applies to your lifestyle and your habits. If you are consistently making better choices with your food, if you are consistently being more active and fitting in your workouts and moving more versus sitting more, those will build and accumulate into better progress and better health maintenance. It's just you have to do the consistent work, because the challenge is without doing extreme things, the changes are going to be gradual and they're going to take time. And that's the kind of the caveat. You can do extreme things and see really quick, rapid changes, but those extreme things are usually too extreme for you to want or be able to continue doing for any sort of length of time that we would call sustainable and maintainable. So the idea is learning how to eat more healthy on a regular basis, learning how to fit regular movement and exercise into your lifestyle so you can sustain and keep those changes and make it an ongoing new practice for you and new habits and new lifestyle. So the changes that accumulate are kept, not we do a rapid weight loss program, we hate every minute of it, we go back to what wasn't working for a few months, then once we've kind of buffered out, we go back to the rapid weight loss, and then we're just going up and down, which creates its own metabolic problems in its own right. So we're really not helping a huge amount in that regard. And sometimes we're often creating more issues, because the more you do that, the more metabolic resistance we create, and it makes it harder to actually get to and sustain that weight loss once we do a more sustainable program, which I've seen a lot of times in clients, unfortunately. So quit beating yourself up, honor the changes that you're making, and recognize that those are good, positive improvements for your health and your lifestyle to make things more sustainable, to see progress and keep that progress long term. And remember, sometimes the wins aren't on the scale. They're more internal, and you don't reap those benefits until later when we get better health reports, we prevent and minimize disease developments. Sometimes the wins are simply the things that we don't see because we never have the issue developed. Things to consider. If you want to discuss more, feel free to reach out. Other questions, throw them in the chat. I'll be more than happy to keep this discussion going next week. In the meantime, remember to stay persistent in your consistent pursuit of health, and have a wonderful week.